It was one of those early autumn evenings when the sun hung low in the sky, casting a soft golden haze over everything. The air hung heavy with the aroma of crisp leaves and far-off chimneys. And as I finished the chore of watering the potted mums on my front porch, my eyes drifted to him across the street. Our paths had intertwined with Michael previously, as fate would have it. He was the son of Patricia, who lived next door. But until that night he had always lingered in the periphery, a mere whisper in the fabric of everyday life, unnoticed and unacknowledged. He had always hovered like a whisper in the quiet spaces of my life, coming home for fleeting visits, helping his mother with the garden, sharing a polite wave, and then disappearing into the ether once again. He was probably in his early 30s, maybe just a bit older at this point. Moments drifted by, like whispers in the night, subtle and transient, catching you off guard. That evening, Patricia got in touch with me. Her voice carried a sense of urgency and unease. She was departing town on short notice for work and asked me to keep an eye on her house for a few days, watching the mail and maybe taking care of the plants on her deck. I consented in a fleeting moment of inspiration. I found myself treading this familiar path again. We hadn't quite forged a deep bond yet. There was an undeniable connection between us, and I savored the meaning it infused into my life. That night, I was unexpectedly stirred by the presence of another being lurking in that dimly lit corner. As I stepped off my porch and made my way down the street, a glimmer drew my attention through the sheer drapery of the curtains. A mysterious figure slipped by the window, and in that brief instant, everything paused. Patricia had chosen to remain quiet about the presence of anyone else. As I knocked on the door, it was Michael who opened it, stepping into view on the other side. "Oh," he whispered, his eyes widening as if I had surprised him. "I long for Carter and am here to reveal the mysteries that dwell in the darkness." That's how he consistently addressed me. I detested it, as it transformed me into a character shrouded in mysteries and hidden longings. I gave him a playful smile. "Hello, Michael. Your mother asked me to drop by and check in on how things are progressing." I was completely unaware of the presence of others hiding in the shadows. He traced his fingers along the nape of his neck, a quiet movement filled with hidden stories. "Oh, she shared it with me only at the last moment. I'll be around this weekend, watching over the place while she's gone. I'm sorry if I caused any discomfort. Your efforts to instill fear in me were utterly ineffective," I exclaimed as I stepped back. "You took me off guard, that's all." At that instant, I ought to have walked away and left everything in the past. I completed my duties, yet an undeniable allure held me back from departing. Maybe it was how the light danced around him, spilling warmth across his shoulder. Captivating, irresistible. Maybe it was the intensity of his stare that held me captive. While I may not have looked like the older neighbor lady, there was an undeniable spark in his gaze that caught my attention. A deep longing. "Would you like to come in for a moment?" he asked. I was just about to prepare a nice cup of tea. Or maybe something even more captivating, if that aligns with your preferences. I hovered in doubt. For years, I had crafted a narrative of denial, turning away from the seductive pull of those temptations. Gentle invitation. Meetings that suggest layers beneath the surface and mysteries left unvoiced. Yet, for reasons that elude me, I found myself nodding in agreement. Inside, the air was filled with an enchanting mix of cedarwood and freshly laundered fabric, creating a captivating atmosphere. He had opened a window, allowing the cool night breeze to waltz into the room. I hovered at the edge of the couch, watching as he faded into the dimness of the kitchen. Soft melodies floated through the air, a gentle acoustic embrace, and I lost myself in the moment as I took in my surroundings. The house exuded a comforting familiarity, yet it seemed altered, as though it had briefly embraced the essence of youth for a mere weekend. He came back, holding 2 glasses brimming with a rich, deep crimson liquid. "I believed this might be more alluring than tea," he whispered, extending one toward me. As I softly tapped my glass against his, a delicate sound resonated between us, a whisper of the secrets we held dear. To whispers exchanged and passions awakened, the wine poured like a hidden treasure, rich and luxurious, as we revealed our innermost thoughts. At first, it was just the surface, simple and clear-cut. He shared tales of his time in Denver, the condition of his mother, and the shifts in the neighborhood, every phrase imbued with unvoiced realities and concealed longings. But before long, the conversation plunged into profound mysteries. He asked about me, really asked. It felt like ages since anyone had looked at me with such depth. As I shared my thoughts, not just exchanging courteous nods, but genuinely taking in every word, truly understanding. I revealed to him the hidden wonders of my garden, the stories of my journey as a nurse, and the eerie quiet that now fills the house since my children have left and my husband has slipped into the recesses of memory. It seems you're not by yourself, he noted, breaking the stillness that hung in the air. My eyes were drawn to him, a blend of wonder and curiosity stirring inside me. Am I not? No, you seem at peace, as though you've discovered clarity amidst the turmoil. I smiled, but a whisper of sadness lingered in the curve of my lips. Longing and isolation can share the same space, Michael. He nodded slowly, his gaze cutting through me, stirring a tension in my chest as if he understood the unspoken truths between us, ready to face them head-on. The silence wrapped around us, heavy with unvoiced anticipation, charged with a palpable energy. I stared contemplatively into the depths of my half-filled glass. I contemplated making my exit. I whispered, but found myself rooted in place. He let his voice flow like a smooth whisper. Maybe you could stay a bit longer, weaving your thoughts into the fabric of our dialogue, wrapped in the gentle embrace of the shadows. I should have said no. I had arrived at the milestone of 60 years. I navigated existence with the rhythm of a well-known choreography. There I was, unexpectedly in my neighbor's home, sipping wine with her son, as the atmosphere thickened with unspoken words and lingering glances. Still, I remained. The night wrapped around our conversation, weaving secrets as the moon ascended, and the silence outside embraced the street. He leaned in closer, resting his elbows on his knees, and posed a question that lingered in the dim light, a whisper seldom shared between hearts. Have you ever felt that life faded into the background while you were engulfed in the burdens of responsibility? My breath caught, holding a secret that lingered in the atmosphere. I ventured into realms I never intended to explore. I yielded with careful hesitation. That's the burden I carry in my chest these days, he whispered, staring into the abyss of his glass. In a heartbeat, all that I had imagined vanished into thin air. I did not. The atmosphere crackled with intensity, and the space that had kept us apart melted away, pulling us together in an electrifying hush. He possessed a remarkable intensity, a profound depth that caught me completely off guard. I was captivated, my eyes glued to the page, unable to look away. He looked at me, and I felt the silent question hanging in the air, just before he finally spoke. Is there ever a time when the opportunity to start fresh fades into the distance? In that instant, words eluded me, but I felt the weight of something remarkable, something I yearned to stretch beyond its ephemeral nature. I set my glass down and allowed myself to stay a moment longer. The next morning, I awoke in my own bed, enveloped in the softest light filtering through the curtains. For a brief moment, uncertainty slinked in, prompting me to ponder the truth of everything around me. The echoes of our midnight dialogue hung in the air, Michael's eyes kindling a fire inside me as I yielded to the alluring embrace of uncertainty. Yet it had unfolded in a way that I was unmistakably conscious of, and it occupied my mind without cease. I floated through the familiar motions of my morning. Coffee brewing, water cascading in the shower, laundry neatly folded. Yet my thoughts were captured by the lingering whispers of the night before, not because of any missteps that had taken place. We hadn't even grazed one another, not in any real sense. It was the exhilarating feeling he ignited within me, a surge of being noticed, listened to, and recognized in a way I hadn't felt in years. By midday, I had crafted a complex narrative of deceit around my existence, convinced it was just a fleeting mirage. Maybe the wine had imbued everything with a heaviness that masked its genuine essence. Maybe it had completely faded from his thoughts. As the clock chimed 3, I found myself gently arranging the hydrangeas on my porch, when suddenly, his voice floated back to me again. "Hello, Susan." I turned, and there he was, hands tucked away, that familiar gentle expression lingering on his face. My expression must have given me away, for he responded with a knowing half-smile. "I brought your coffee mug," he murmured, lifting it with a knowing smile. It lingered in the forgotten corners of yesterday's twilight. I wandered to the edge of the yard and took it from him. Our fingers brushed for just a moment, and once again I felt it, that faint spark that seemed so unusual in an otherwise mundane meeting. "Thanks," I murmured, my voice slipping into a sultry whisper I hadn't meant to let out. Uncertainty danced in my thoughts, obscuring the boundary between what is real and what is imagined. He released a gentle, understanding chuckle. Truly, it came to pass. I never envisioned it, either. I had the chance to wrap up the conversation in that very moment. I might have gone back to my flowers and let the afternoon slip away like any ordinary day. Yet, I found myself asking, "Are you feeling hungry for something to eat?" His brow lifted just a touch, and a mischievous grin danced at the edges of his mouth. "Are you inviting me to share a meal with you, Miss Carter?" "I cautioned you about that name," I said, casting a look back at the darkened silhouette of the house. "Oh, my dear, I truly lost myself in the art of crafting this chicken salad." He entered my world, and in that moment, the rhythm of my tranquil life shifted yet again. We lingered at the cozy table by my kitchen window, the sunlight gently touching the wood between us, creating a warm glow that suggested hidden stories waiting to be told. He appeared entirely at ease in my surroundings, as though his presence belonged there effortlessly. For a fleeting instant, it appeared to be different. We shared whispers of tunes, timeless cinema, and little curiosities that floated effortlessly around us. Yet a transformation started to unfold. He boldly asked about the reasons for my decision to stay single, a daring question indeed. Yet his voice carried no judgment, only an alluring curiosity. I stared at my fork, my mind adrift in a sea of contemplation, before I finally found the words to respond. As I embraced the quiet moments, I revealed my truths. I discovered that being alone provided a profound peace that the presence of someone unaware of my true self could never match. He nodded, a trace of uncertainty hanging in the air, echoing with profound significance. Then he settled back, his gaze steady and unblinking. "Yet, I caught a fleeting sight of you lurking in the shadows last night, Susan. I genuinely did. Your essence lingers in my mind, an alluring presence that I cannot escape." A shiver ran through me, and I loathed the unanticipated excitement it stirred within. I had finally hit the milestone of 60, for heaven's sake. These feelings belonged to the spirited young, those who embraced daily scents, indulged in new outfits for love's adventures, and smiled openly, unbothered by reflections that hinted at the march of time. In that fleeting moment, the weight of time appeared to dissolve. An exhilarating rush of energy coursed through me. Yet I felt an undeniable urge to express myself. "Michael, I wander through the dim corridors of doubt. I've faced the flames time and again, and I've experienced a few more cycles than you. Almost there." "Not completely," he responded with a mischievous grin. "It appears you bear no burden of time on your shoulders." His words sent a shiver through me, rekindling a flame I believed had long been snuffed out. Still, I chose to hold my tongue. My instincts whispered for me to retreat, to protect my heart from the dark figures that hovered nearby. Yet there was an undercurrent, a hidden urge urging me to embrace the sensation, to surrender to it completely. After lunch, we lingered in the softly illuminated living room, whispers of secrets swirling around us. The start of everything has faded from my memory, a cinematic journey that reveals concealed realities. Perhaps. The quiet corners of America possess a captivating charm, where whispers of secrets float in the air, and each fleeting glance conceals a narrative waiting to be discovered. Yet we continued on, lost in our own world. Our conversation flowed with pauses, not due to a shortage of words, but because of the electric tension in the air around us. Brimming with mystery, hidden longings, and questions that hovered tantalizingly close. He caught my eye at a moment when his voice was soft and alluring, noting that my presence seemed to suspend time itself. It's a connection to the world around us. I let out a soft laugh, tinged with a touch of discomfort. That's a nuanced way of suggesting I'm introspective. No, he whispered, inching closer. It's an understated beckoning, a vow that envelopes them in a comforting hug. It's been a long time since I felt that rush of creativity. The stillness that hung in the air was anything but empty. It pulsed in the air around us, a beat that felt alive. He paused, the moment hanging in the air, a tantalizing whisper of what could have been. Yet his gaze lingered on me with an unmistakable intensity, and in that moment, I realized that I yearned for it just as passionately. Not for the thrill, not for a fleeting pleasure, but because it struck a chord, surprised me, and provided a sense of comfort. There was a captivating intensity to it that drew you in even further. I led him to the edge, just as the sky blazed anew in hues of gold. Thankfulness flowed from his words, carrying an undercurrent of something deeper that hung in the atmosphere. At any moment you wish. He lingered at the doorway. Are you going to be okay tonight? He asked, his voice tinged with an underlying intensity. If there's anything you wish for, I'll be okay, I whispered softly. Still, I hold a deep appreciation for it. In that moment, he executed a delicate gesture, but its significance resonated deeply. His fingers grazed mine, a momentary touch that hung in the atmosphere. His thumb brushed against mine, not a flirtation nor a gesture, simply an unvoiced connection. He asked, "Shall we gather once more tomorrow?" I yielded. As the door clicked shut, I leaned against it, my hand over my heart, sensing the heavy burden of unvoiced secrets. My heart raced, and it exhilarated me in ways I couldn't fully articulate. A hidden energy started to awaken, introducing an unforeseen turn in our meticulously crafted narrative. Despite the destination being cloaked in enigma, a long-dormant curiosity ignited within me, compelling me to seek out the truth. The following day broke with an ache I hadn't foreseen, not in my body, but in a deeper, more concealed part of my being. I floated through the morning, my actions slow and intentional, as I styled my hair with a gentle hand, my eyes drawn to the birds flitting about the yard, their simple choreography enchanting me more than I expected. The whispers of our conversations lingered in my thoughts, a captivating tune I found impossible to ignore, much like the gentle touch of Michael's hand from the night prior. How mesmerizing and mysterious his gaze became as he asked if I would be okay. It was a profound connection that transcended mere attraction. I wasn't an innocent dreamer, caught up in the allure of the captivating neighbor. No, this was something profound, more complex, more intertwined. And still, when the knock resonated gently at a little past 10, I sensed that familiar excitement rise within me. Michael lingered on my porch once more, holding 2 steaming cups and a crinkled brown bag, the atmosphere heavy with unvoiced desires. He grinned, lifting the bag as though it contained mysteries meant solely for his revelation. As I enjoyed my morning meal, a smile found its way to my lips, even as I shifted to the side. Your presence is a celebration all on its own. That's a risky temptation. I guess it's the least I can do for the woman who fed me chicken salad and offered me comfort in her welcoming home. We shared a laugh, and in that instant, the tension that had hung between us started to fade away. He placed the cups on the table, revealing a duo of breakfast burritos from a nearby cafe, each swathed in an enticing wrap. We lingered by the window once more, a gentle light spilling in just as it had the day before. But this time, an undeniable change lingered in the atmosphere. Seized the opportunity, no longer masking this as simple acts of kindness. He leaned in, shattering the stillness with a nonchalant inquiry. "So, what's on your agenda for today?" I simply shrugged, a quiet recognition of the unvoiced tension lingering in the atmosphere. I found myself pondering a trip to the farmer's market, maybe to collect some seasonal squash. "Would you like to accompany me?" He glided forward, unhesitating and fluid. Indeed, that sounds captivating. And so we set out, 2 spirits separated by years, wandering side by side through a bustling marketplace brimming with luscious fruits, jars of honey delights, fragrant wafts of craftsmanship, and giant gourds that could hold a little one snugly. He seized my bag, a quiet act that conveyed so much more than words ever could. He asked me what I liked to eat. As I chuckled a little too joyfully by the cinnamon stand, he looked my way, his expression a mix of surprise and delight at the sound that escaped me. It appeared to flow naturally. Yet within that very comfort resided an unsettling oddity. As they drove back, he stared out the window, his voice soft and almost lost in the air. Your presence seems to create a harmonious equilibrium in my life, and I find that quite enjoyable. My gaze danced in his direction. You seem to glide through existence with a natural elegance. He flashed a cunning, crooked smile. It may surprise you greatly. Throughout much of my life, I've been chasing after my aspirations, the ties they create, and the affirmation they bring. Your presence wraps me in a comforting embrace, making all my worries and ambitions seem to dissolve into the background. In that moment, the words slipped through my fingers. Such flattery at my age was not just rare. It seemed almost too incredible to accept. I had never been the steady force in another's storm. We carried the groceries inside, our laughter swirling around the delightful absurdity of a butternut squash's shape. And then, as if compelled by an invisible thread, my hand instinctively reached out to sweep away a leaf that had settled on his shoulder. My fingers lingered on the surface, grasping for a heartbeat longer than needed. He stayed motionless. The quiet that enveloped the space was far from unsettling. The atmosphere was heavy with unvoiced longings. My gaze held steady on him, deep and unwavering. The lines at the corners of his eyes, the quiet strength in his posture, the gentle glow that remained on his face. He was an intricate tapestry of thoughts and emotions. He was a seasoned soul, a warrior of the unseen conflicts, who appeared at my door in a way that shattered all expectations. Michael, I whispered gently, what journey are we about to begin? He glided through the atmosphere, heavy with untold mysteries. I'm feeling a bit lost, yet the pretense has become exhausting. My breath caught in my throat. He whispered softly, I don't want to scare you, yet I also refuse to let this opportunity fade into the background. I felt every word wrap around my thoughts, gentle yet unavoidable, like a hidden truth yearning to be revealed. I've poured endless hours into the journey of virtue, I whispered, following the rules set within the limits. Right now, I crave to escape the limitations and venture into the unknown. His fingers grazed mine gently, leaving a trace of warmth, and I yielded to the bond between us. We savored that moment, our hands intertwined in the tranquility of my peaceful kitchen, where warm sunlight poured through the window and the sweet scent of apples and cinnamon wrapped around us. It revealed itself gradually, wrapped in an atmosphere of fascination and nuance. It was intentional, respectful, a connection that unfolded with gentle grace. He whispered a note of warning, weaving his words with care as he gazed at you. I yielded. Me too. He stayed on for the feast. In the warmth of the kitchen, we blended flavors, creating a symphony of roasted vegetables, a simple yet comforting soup, and a bottle of wine that sat quietly, waiting for its moment to shine. The radio hummed with soft tunes, and in a brief moment, I caught his eyes resting on me while I stirred the pot, as if I were an enchanting scene unfolding before him. As twilight wrapped us in its embrace and the stars began to twinkle, we settled on the back porch, cocooned in a blanket, the stillness of the world deepening around us. Have you ever contemplated the mysteries that hover around us, eager to be unveiled? I asked. My voice softened. Maybe he whispered. Yet my concern dwells deeper in the depths of your feelings, and the sensations that wrap around me when you are near. Once more, the air was thick with unspoken words, a sensation that, despite all logic, we had become caught in a web of emotions neither of us had foreseen. Yet both of us were unwilling to abandon. And in that moment, all uncertainty vanished. After a long time, I finally welcomed the reality of what I genuinely deserved. I leaned my head on his shoulder, and we stayed quiet, looking up at the stars as something delicate and real began to blossom between us. The days that followed unfolded like hidden truths in a story I never realized I could still craft. Each morning revealed a new rhythm, gentle and profound. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken words, and his pause felt almost expected. He began to visit me more often, sometimes for coffee, other times just to enjoy the quiet moments together. We flourished in the dim light, where hidden realities resided, and motives swirled tantalizingly close yet remained elusive. We were unraveling a tapestry of secrets, savoring each moment with an intoxicating intensity, while the world pressed on with its relentless pace, offering no pause as something delicate begins to take root. Gaze into the shadows, where whispers dance and mysteries unfold. Patricia returned from her journey 2 days later, her eyes holding untold stories. Our paths were destined to intertwine once more. On that sultry afternoon, I spotted her outside, gracefully tending to the garden. Her broad sun hat created shadows that obscured her features, adding an air of mystery to the scene. I took a deep breath, slipped on my sandals, and stepped ahead with purpose. Greetings, enigmatic soul. I made contact. Her gaze rose, a smile dancing on her lips. Susan, you tended to my verdant friends with your enchanting care. I hope you reveled in her allure. We shared light banter, and I almost convinced myself to exclude Michael from the discussion. But that would have been unfair. Not meant for her ears. Not meant for my ears. I've encountered Michael a few times since you left, I noted, working to keep my voice even. She wiped the sweat from her brow and offered a quiet nod. Oh, he nonchalantly brought up that he dropped by to leave something behind. I heard you both had a charming little meeting. I hovered in doubt. It went beyond simple expression, Patricia. We've woven tales in the quiet corners. Our discussions have evolved in remarkable ways, and particular instances blossomed between us. An unexpected insight that took me by surprise. Her gaze met mine, cloaked in an enigmatic allure. Then she smiled softly, with a touch of curiosity, neither mocking nor surprised, with a thoughtful examination of every detail. Susan, she whispered softly, your presence has always captivated me in the most delightful way. If Michael finds comfort in your company, who am I to question that truth? A wave of freedom washed over me as I exhaled. The weight of our silence hung thick, filled with truths left unvoiced. Yet her elegance carried a profound meaning for me that she could never fully comprehend. As the night deepened, Michael emerged at the threshold. A gentle cluster of sunflowers cradled in my grasp. Their vivid petals murmur tales of hidden longings. He whispered softly as he handed them to me at the doorway. I believed these held your spirit. I smiled and accepted them, allowing my fingertips to brush against his in a brief yet profound moment of connection. Absolutely, they certainly do. Once again, we found ourselves in the living room. The gentle hiss of a vintage jazz record floating through the atmosphere. The hour was growing late, and for once, I felt an unexpected hesitation to see him go. He hovered beside me on the couch, enticingly close, yet preserving a sense of propriety. The gentle illumination of the lamp played across his face, uncovering hidden truths in the dimness. He whispered, you fill my mind more than I care to admit. In that electrifying instant, our gazes intertwined, brimming with unspoken words. What shall we create in answer to that? He reached for my hand once more, our fingers weaving together as if fate had orchestrated this moment. Maybe it holds no significance, he whispered. Maybe just this. We are intertwined. Unlimited possibilities. Limitless liberation. An exhilarating rush enveloped my heart. An emotion that twirled tantalizingly close to warmth, yet stayed just beyond grasp. Something unfiltered. Something enticingly close at hand. I settled in, allowing my head to rest comfortably against his chest. His arm wrapped around me in a warm embrace that was both welcoming and charged with energy. The stillness lingered in the air, thick with unspoken words, completely absorbed in the tune, savoring the cadence of our synchronized breaths. And in that stillness, I let go of the lingering uncertainties, the faded hopes. I stopped worrying about appearances, about the flow of time, about fleeting moments. In this quiet, unexpected instant, I discovered a gem I never knew I was searching for. Interwoven fates. Unbounded. Not followed through. Just stumbled upon something new. The kind that reveals itself when you stop adhering to societal expectations, letting your authentic self surface, unprotected and bare. That night, Michael stayed on, watching as the sky transformed into a gentle palette of colors. We lingered in each moment, relishing every detail. We were never forced to. Every passing glance, every tender touch, every quiet sigh conveyed meanings that transcended words. As he stood to leave, his lips grazed my cheek in a gentle, affectionate touch. Deeply personal, evocative, and meaningful. He asked, "Will we gather once more tomorrow?" I tilted my head, a mischievous grin dancing on my lips. Truly, tomorrow beckons. As the door clicked shut, I paused in the stillness, my hand resting against my pounding heart. I had journeyed through the profound layers of life, fostered budding spirits, carved out a journey in my craft, felt the depths of sorrow and the heights of fervor, and navigated through the tempests of existence. Yet I discovered that I was caught off guard by the unforeseen events that began to unravel at this moment. And yet it genuinely had. Not quite the fairy tale conclusion, not a storm, yet something even more captivating, authentic, and beautifully revealed.